Hi, I'm Nick Paulson. You're watching News 24 Live. We've got some motorsport news for you this morning. I'm joined in studio by Wheels 24 editor Les Stevenson to look back on the Japanese Grand Prix. Les, good day. Thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
Japanese Grand Prix ended on somewhat of a somber note. Do you want to just give us a recap?
Yeah, it was very sad. Jules Bianchi went off track. There was still another car there that had just gone off. One of the Saubers had crashed already, and there was a recovery truck with a crane. And Bianchi, unfortunately totally out of control, went straight into the side of it, and he's very badly injured. He's had brain surgery in a hospital in Japan, and we hope he'll pull through.
So what is the latest news on his condition?
The latest news is basically that he's had surgery. He's being checked very carefully. His father has flown out from France, and basically there's been a shutdown on information. The family have asked to have it made a little more low-key than it has been over the past couple of days.
There's not Lewis Hamilton winning overall, but I mean I believe the celebrations were quite muted. I mean this really did put a dampener on everything. Pardon the pun, terrible weather conditions as well.
Yeah, the weather was terrible. There will be questions still asked a long time in the future as to whether the race should have even started. But as Hamilton, who as you say won, he pointed out later that racing is racing, and if it's raining, you go racing. But yeah, it was a somber note for Bianchi, and the guys on the podium just took a very delicate sip of the champagne at the end and put the bottles down and looked serious.
And now this tractor that was sort of cause of the accident, there's a lot of finger pointing. Who's to blame for this?
Well, we've asked that in a couple of our stories on Wheels 24. The first car, which was driven by Sutil, went into the tyre wall. That's those big thick things which are full basically of tyres, sideways, and was perfectly okay. But he was within range of the track and a car coming off, as happened. And a tractor was brought across with a sort of a crane arm to lift the car away. Later pictures showed that in fact the tyre wall had been opened to let the unit come out on the track side of the tyre wall. Now that's dangerous because Soto had already gone off. Around comes a lap later, around comes Bianchi. Same water, same conditions, same speed. He goes off too. And he took almost exactly the same track to the tyre wall, but instead of a tyre wall now, there was a recovery tractor, which I would argue should have stayed on the other side of the tyre wall and lifted the car over and out of the way.
Alonso, problems with his electrics, there's more questions around that.
Yeah. Indeed, poor Alonso. He's off on the first lap. And the camera's on his instruments, which just freeze, and probably so did Alonso. Everything stopped, his electrics died, and he just coasted off to the side of the track, and that was his race done. But there were two other cars did the same thing. The two McLarens, you could argue their electrics possibly come from the same source. The question is, what happens if it rains again on a Formula weekend? I mean, do they get scooter capes out and put them around and take off down the track? Anyway, there's a problem there. They're going to have to look at the waterproofing on the electrics in the cabin, in the cockpit.
And then just looking at the championship overall, Rosberg, Hamilton, I mean, it's just pretty much between the two of them. 4 races left, I believe.
4 races left, yeah. Hamilton is now in the lead, I believe, by 10 points after this race, and there are 4 to go. Doesn't mean it's all over, of course, remember, because the last race in the Middle East is raced for double points, which can just change everything around on the last race.
Okay, so I mean, how do you see it ending?
Hamilton, of course. He's English. I mean, good lord. No, Hamilton is a brilliant driver. Some people decry him, but the only times he's lost really this season have been with car trouble. When he hasn't car trouble, he drives like a demon. He was so far ahead on this race on Sunday that without an electrical problem or an engine failure, there was just no way he couldn't have won. He's brilliant in the rain.
Yeah. And Les's last question, Vettel quitting Red Bull, that seems to have rocked the Formula One world a bit.
Yeah, it came as a heck of a shock on Saturday morning. Our time, it was about 3:30, I would guess, in Japan, and when it was announced, we had it live on Wheels 24 pretty quickly around 4:30. That was when I got up anyway. And yeah, he's announced that he's in fact leaving. Nobody is really being honest about where he's going. The rumour is that he's going to Ferrari, and he probably is. But up till now, Ferrari hasn't said whether he is. Bottom line is he's leaving, and that's a shame after so many years as a young driver with the team. And he's a brilliant driver. He's just had a really lousy season since they introduced the new power units to the cars. He hasn't won. And when last year he had a whole string of wins, as we know. And he presumably sees he doesn't have a future there.